You are in for a real treat. This episode was originally recorded for my other podcast, but for you, it's been upgraded and transformed, and now you have the Ask the Pro show. So everything mentioned in this episode will now be found on chrisdufay.com, plus so much more, as I've designed the Ask the Pro podcast and chrisdufay.com to give you exactly what you need to grow your business success and for you to have the money, the freedom, and the happiness you want, making a bigger and better impact to the world unselfishly. So now it's time to delve straight into this episode, and I want you to lap up and enjoy every single second of it. Now, the two gentlemen from the United Kingdom, Matt and Dave, thank you so much for taking your time out. It's in the morning for you guys, and I know you've woken up nice and early, but I appreciate from myself and the listener for coming onto the Turning Pro Academy podcast. Boys, a very big thank you.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having us, and that would be my doorbell going straight away.
That's a ripping start to the podcast, boys. Well done. I'm not editing this out at all. This is how we're going, because I've actually got workmen in my backyard right next to me, and we're probably going to hear some timber getting clunked around. So this is all good. This is how we do it. Now, before we even start getting into everything that we've kind of outlined, because this is going to be a podcast where I really want to take the essence of what you guys are doing, Dave and Matt, and I really want to bring this into the showcasing what the coaches, the listeners, especially because a lot of the people are in the health and fitness world right now listening, what you guys can really bring to the table to help these entrepreneurs, these business owners excel and catapult their own success, their careers, their lifestyles, and their businesses and their profits. But before we even get into that, Dave, let's start with you, buddy. Who are you and why are you so phenomenal?
Well, my name is Dave Furness, and I started, I come from an e-commerce background. I sort of fell into it sort of by accident out of university, and it just made sense. Whilst everyone else at university was buying books at a ridiculous price from the on-campus bookstore, I was getting them from Amazon and eBay, and I understood the power of online and e-commerce. And then when the job came available, I started working there, and I took the business from doing sort of largely eBay auctions to doing over £1 million a year purely on eBay. And I said I was there for about 3 years. We were at quite a large rate. It was quite a big business. That's where I first met Matt. Matt was working for a software company that we were using at the time. And yeah, so I did that for a while. Then I left. I went to a fashion company and did the same again. I took them from doing, I think, £2,000 a month to about £25,000 a month in 6 months.
That's awesome.
And then, yeah, I decided that the office thing wasn't quite for me. And I was speaking with Matt. Yeah, I was speaking to Matt, who was a consultant by this point, and I said, I quite fancy this. And he was like, go for it. You know, I'm super busy. And I mean, thanks to Matt, he actually recommended a lot of business my way in the early days. So I went down a consultant route, and then, long story short, this crazy man called Matt came up to me with an idea one day and said, we know all this stuff. Why don't we just give it away for free? And that's sort of where Understanding Me was born. That's the quick version. But yeah, and then we haven't really looked back now for the past, we're now in the third year. And yeah, it's been a phenomenal ride, and I wouldn't have changed anything about it.
Awesome. Now, we'll kind of delve into a bit more about the business that you guys are doing, the numbers, all that kind of stuff as well. But maybe even first, before we do that, Matt, who the hell are you and why are you so phenomenal?
Okay, well, actually, we'll get to me in a moment, but I've done a little bit of homework for this podcast, and what I want to be able to do is to help people like me. And I've got a couple of tips to help you, and it's specifically aimed at people like me, okay? Where I'm the more of the scatty entrepreneur type person, and I have had an issue actually implementing ideas. So if that sounds like someone like you, I've got two really, really simple tips for you. One's a question and one's an action. Which I'll be sharing a bit later. And
also, he's added the cliffhanger. Very smooth, Matt. Very smooth.
And I've also done some homework as well. Now, I don't mean that in a negative way, but I was totally blown away that there were people out there which didn't know about 10x. And 10x for me was such a life-changing. And I listened to the audiobook version.
That was me until 2 weeks ago.
Once you listen to this, you will either rule yourself in or out within the first opening sentence of that book. Okay, and Chris, you were one of the people which was like, oh my God, I've never heard of 10x.
We're sitting right next to each other, and I was like, what? No, and I literally downloaded it about a minute after you started the sentence, and then listened to it on the flight home.
Yeah, it was like, just download it now, buy it now. You've got an Audible account, just get it right now. There's one thing you should take away from this week away, or however long you were there. Just listen to this book. It will change a lot of things for you. And I've got a couple of other suggestions as well. But my main purpose, why I'm here right now, is to help more cool people like me, you, and Dave and Chris as well. Okay, so who am I? I'll actually answer that question now. That's a good question. So in short, I run a business with Dave. Dave is my business partner for Understanding E. And he's very much, I don't know which way you phrase this, but he's my yin or yang, whichever way you look at it. He's the complete reverse to myself. He's the person which is, well, probably the sole reason Understanding E has been a success. It has been because he's actually able to filter out my scatty ideas and go, no, that won't work. No, that won't work. Matt, you're crazy. No, that one won't work as well. Oh, that one, I like that one. Let's do that one. And Dave is very much my springboard for that.
I think this is a beautiful thing that I'd really like to touch on later. Is the actual partnership you two have. I think it's a really, really good thing. We had a couple of great chats in Bangkok, and I think it was a great thing I got to see was this partnership that you guys have is it's strong, and you both complement each other so well with strengths and weaknesses filled in.
Yeah, I was just saying our personalities are not very similar, but like I said, where my down points, Matt more than makes up for, and I think that I add something to Matt's lower points. So like I said, Matt has these fantastic ideas, and my job is to find the ones which I think will be sort of successful business ideas that will bring value, but also be sort of financially successful for us as well.
Matt, I'm sorry, I just saw something in the notes you sent me. Apparently a couple of people thought you and Dave were a couple in Bangkok.
Yes. That's afterwards.
Hi, Byron.
Sorry.
I didn't see you holding it. I never thought that, but it's okay. That's cool. Sorry. Sidetracked. It's all good. Now, let me just swizzle on back to something that you said before, Matt. Why was 10X so moving for you?
Because I was already wired that way. I didn't have the word the words 10x in my head. It just felt that the second I picked up the book, and it was a recommendation, and I've been trying to read or listen to a book a week all of this year, and this is one of the books which has stood out by a country mile, and it just hit that chord with me in my head. So I'll give you a prime example. So right now, I'm in the process of building a new office, and I move houses in 2-3 weeks' time. And part of that, and we're converting this standalone garage into my office, and it's going to be amazing. But the thing is everybody else around me, with the exception of Dave and you, Chris, on this chat, are wired differently. They're like employees. They just don't get this.
Yeah.
And for me in my head to find 10x is that I'd been working all day and physically shattered in what I was doing. And then we had this path to get through. So it was, say, 4 to 6 inches of solid concrete. And I was actually physically knackered by that point, but we had to get through that path to get this soil pipe through so we could run the central heating out to the garage. And I just picked up the sledgehammer and I smashed the living daylights out of that path, and I had it done within 5 minutes flat. And every time I hit that path to pieces, and when that sledgehammer hit the concrete, I said in my head, 10x. Because everybody else around me they were as tired as what I was, because they'd all been working the same day, same length of time. Well, no, actually, I'd started about 5 o'clock in the morning, but they'd also had long days as well, physically exhausting days. But in my head, it was just 10x, 10x.
I think I think it's a great thing, and I think why I really appreciate you recommending that book and me sinking my teeth into that as well was what people can take away is either two things. Either one, where I agree with you, is you said like it gave you the words for it. I feel like it gave me the permission for it. It was already what I had been wired to do, but it was like, no, I can do this. I am allowed to function in this manner. And I think on the flip side, the people that aren't necessarily wired like that, it can give them the nice kick up the backside to be like, no, this is what you need to be able to do. And I also kind of see the correlation over to, say, Ryan Holiday's book, The Obstacle is the Way. And it's kind of like, I said it to a guy today, but it's like the impediment to action is the action. Do you know what I mean? Like if something's in the way, like don't just try and make an excuse and get around it. Maybe you've just got to work harder to get through it. Maybe you've just got to really push through.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, we could go off on so much of a bender here because we've both got children and we're both looking from the chats which we had, looking towards the future and what it's going to be like for them. And the thing is that, I'm just going to go in this direction.
Sure.
So feel free to bring me back onto the topic in a moment. But I have two girls, one's 5 and one's 7, and I never want them to be an employee. Okay. And I already see it it's not a case that my desires that I don't want them to be an employee, I already see it in my eldest daughter, that she's not going to be a fit for a typical, as a typical employee. And my biggest fear for her right now is that she's going through school and she has to put her hand up for a P. Whereas we would just politely say, oh, I need to be back in a moment. And then you just wander off and have a pee and come back. But they're going through this structure right now, which is going to help them be good employees. And I don't want my girls to be employees. And again, to come back to the office as well, the reason why I'm chucking everything which I've got at it in the moment is because I don't see that as just as an office for me to work in. I see that as an incubator for my girls to work in. And by the time Abigail's 16, I want her to have at least her first business, if not failed at her first business by the time she's 16. She can use my persona. She can use my wife's persona, the mother-in-law's persona. We've got numerous iterations there, which she can use. She can fail with. She can use leverage. So that's the curious thing.
It's a great point, and it's very timely. And I tell you what, I'd love to bring you back on, and we can all chat about this again. Like the whole daddy thing as well. Like I've had just a couple of chats lately on a personal level right now. I've had a couple of chats. One was with you and with a few other guys about, you know, being a father, being an entrepreneur, doing all of this and juggling these balls and how great it can be. And one thing as well was like today I got to go to my daughter, she's 2.5. I got to go to her preschool today to read to her in her class. And I was just like, this is so cool that I am just like in the middle of the day sitting in this classroom surrounded by kids like literally mauling all over me. And I can just like read this book and it's like a part of my day right now. Like, but some people will see that and be like, oh, you're so lucky, you're so great. Do you know what I mean? Like, good for you, like, hoorah. But it's like, no, you know what? Actually, I had to wake up at 5 a.m. this morning so I could write 1,000 words for my new book before I got on a mastermind call. I've been on calls all day and now I'm going to finish off. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's been a really long day and I'm absolutely knackered by the end of it, but it's been so enjoyable and it feeds a lot. But we're on a massive tangent, but that's what we do here.
Yeah, but for Chris, by the end of the day, I think you would probably wouldn't have worked 1 second of it. Sorry,
exactly. Go Dave.
No, I was just going to say, you know, this goes back to the 10X book, and it's a case of like, I mean, I don't have children yet, and hopefully not for a few years, but it's like my friends around me, they, like you just said, they look at, you know, they saw pictures of me in Thailand and it's like, oh, you've got it easy. You run your own business. You know, you can just go out for coffee when you feel like it and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yes, I can do that, but that didn't happen by accident. You see that. You don't see the 17-hour days 2 years ago. You don't see, you know, the 7-day weeks where me and Matt were literally, we changed the layout of the website a week before launch, or a few days before launch, and literally had to redo everything because we knew it wasn't scalable in the current iteration. They don't see that part. Like I said, they don't see you waking up at 5 a.m. and writing books. And, you know, anyone who knows Chris knows that there's probably not a day he didn't end up going to the gym at some point, and I guarantee he works bloody hard in there as well. they see the outcome, they don't see the journey that led you to that path. And I think 10x was, like you say, it was that justification that people say, you work really hard. You need to chill out more. And it's like, well, no, I don't. That's the difference, is that I can justify what I'm doing for the end game.
Yeah, really well said. I think that's absolutely perfect, and it comes perfectly into a question that I wanted to bring to you guys. When so many people have that question of it's, and you said it so well, it's like, it can't be that hard, can it? Do you know what I mean? When wanting to do that. How do you feel when someone brings that question up?
Well, that's the thing, and that actually leads us nicely on to two massive tips which I've got for you listening to this, and it's something which I pretty much live by now, and it gets us in so many good problems just because of these two things. And Dave's laughing, and in fact, Dave was away for 2 weeks, and I held the podcast. We run a weekly mastermind with our community.
Yeah.
And Dave said, "Oh, what did you do last week?" And I said, "Well, I discussed the phrase, 'It can't be that hard, can it?'" And Dave just cried with laughter because he knew where I was going with that, which is that if you... Sorry, go on, Dave. Oh, no,
I was going to say, I've heard it so many times. That's why.
Yeah, correct. So, number one, it can't be that hard, can it? So, instead of trying to... so, you say you've got a business idea, and you might write a business plan, you might go through the details, but in the back of your head, it's got legs. Okay, and you weighed yourself down with all of these issues. And the thing is that they're just pseudo issues because they don't become a reality until you actually do it. And that's the beauty of this phrase. It can't be that hard, can it? And there's two things I'll get this correct now. There's two things which I won't touch. Number one is gas, and number two is plastering. Okay, so I have no formal building experience at all, but I'm able to renovate a garage, brand new roof, insulation, and go through everything which is involved in that. And I've got no previous experience to it because in the back of my head, I thought it can't be that hard, can it? Again, I'm also with the other business which I run is a software-based company, and I'm not a trained web developer. I just have the straightforward view. Well, it can't be that hard, can it? Let's go and do it, and go for that. And you get yourself into so many good problems because the second you actually execute the idea, because if you take the point of view, it's not going to be that hard, it opens things up, it allows you to be fluid. And part two of this is to actually execute it, actually go and do it. So the military know that even the most well thought out plan in the world just goes to complete poop the second the enemy is engaged.
Yep.
Now, I'm not perfect here. I know that I've sat for hours working on stuff, trying to plan out how every different piece of a puzzle is going to work. And the reality is that it was just all time wasted, because if I'd actually paused, executed, and actually started that specific project, then it's in that execution part is where you find out how everything works together. There's things which you just can't plan for. And if you've made yourself this rigid framework which you've got to adhere to, then it doesn't allow you the flexibility to actually move with your customer requirements as you move along. And understanding is that probably the best example of that, because we started that with no financial business model. Both myself and Dave were completely sold on the idea because we'd been through the long process beforehand of monetizing a different version of it, and it just didn't work. So me being the type of person I am, I just flipped it on his head. Right, hey, what happens if we just give it away for free? Proposed it to Dave. Dave goes, "Ooh, that would get a lot of attention." And then we just did it. And then we worked out the business model afterwards. It wasn't until several months in that we actually had a premium membership to go with the site. We just focused on creating amazing value. And this is the thing. In fact, this is my whole history, which is that if I just focus on something for long enough and with enough passion, effort, and enthusiasm, then the money just kind of sorts itself out. And that may be, it's not a naive approach. It's just the way it works. If you focus on something for an extended period of time with that enthusiasm, with that passion, then you'll find ways of monetizing it. And the money really does just kind of sort itself out. That said, Dave's primary role with Understanding Eat is to ensure that we make money, because that's not a motivator for me. The motivator for me is to help. It is to help what I class as cool people. Okay, and in my case, it's small to medium-sized business owners which sell on the marketplaces like eBay and Amazon and want to build their own website. That's my niche. That's where I get a really warm, cozy feeling from. And Dave's primary role is here to ensure that we can continue to do that long term. And that does mean looking after the finances.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in a split with so much more for you. Now, I know you're listening and tuning in because you know how important your health is and how this can also catapult your business. This is why I'm very happy to say that this podcast is sponsored by My Body Blends and my favorite, the Superfood Elixir, the powerful greens drink. Now, this is designed specially to boost energy, aids detoxification, enhances the ability to burn fat, supports healthy carbohydrate metabolism, and best of all, is voted best tasting greens drink. Now, myself and the My Body Blends team are looking for ambassadors to join, so you and your clients get the health benefits plus adding in a strong income stream for you and your business. The ambassador program, which is by application only, means you get exclusive access to sell My Body Blends products like Superfood Elixir to your clients, plus giving you the special ambassador pricing and bonuses. So once you become an ambassador, you can join other top health and fitness players that are adding thousands to their week's income. Now, there is only a limited number of ambassadors we are taking on board, as this is a tribe leading the way together. So to apply and to join, go to mybodyblend.com/ambassador or add the checkout code that is Turning Pro, all one word, when you're going to get your own Superfood Elixir to order. Plus, you're going to get free shipping and a bonus to save yourself over $250 instantly. So just use that coupon code Turning Pro in the checkout and you can save over $250 right now, all on mybodyblend.com. A couple of things you brought up that I really appreciate, and you said naive. I kind of had that word, and I kind of had 3 points roaming around my head as you were going through that. I think naive, like being naive, can be a good thing, and I think we all probably had this when we first got started. Like I said the exact same question when I said I want to start my own supplement company, and to this point of recording right now, and actually by the time this episode will go live, the brand would have launched. So at right now recording, I'm 2 weeks out and there's a lot involved. So there's a lot to be done, but I think it's a good thing because at the end of the day as well, the other point that came into my head was, one, you've got to bring that minimal viable product to it, and you can only get that when you get started as well. And the other thing as well that's so important is really ideas are worthless. Everything is in the execution. Like
absolutely,
execution is where you will get the absolute, like that is where the profits are. That is where the results are. Like how many people do we know that will say ideas and you'd be like, like unless you do something, it is worthless. Like it's where you actually pull the trigger. So if you say an idea, or people are like, oh, I don't want to give this idea away, it's worth so much money. If I give an idea away and someone outworks me, someone out hustles me, someone out executes me, they deserve the rewards better than me.
Yeah. And again, this thing is ideas are cheap, and even a really bad idea implemented brilliantly is going to be a success. And again, just an idea written on a piece of paper, even it's like life-changing, world-changing, galaxy-changing, unless you implement it, it's not going to happen.
This is really funny, and I brought this up with a couple of people before, and to use a example of this that's got nothing to do with business, but let's kind of relate this over to the health and fitness world. Obviously, living here in Bali and training in the gym I do, it's a grungy, hardcore gym, no air conditioning. It's a sweatbox of a place, and there's a couple of Balinese bodybuilders that are there. They look phenomenal. Like, they just look absolutely great. their whole dieting plan, their training plan, all of that stuff is just to the top world-class standards, it's not up to par. Do you know what I mean? But they work their asses off. They are in there grinding away, and that is why they get the results. And what I say to the fitness world, what I say to my physique clients is, I can write you the best diet, I can write you the best training program, but if you don't follow it, and that's if you don't execute it, then it's worthless.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes was saying that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
I like that.
Yeah, and that's the sort of, you know what you're saying. You don't need the flashiest gym equipment or the best conditions to be in. If you work hard, if you lift weights, and you eat right, then the results will come.
Now, kind of touching upon this as well with the actual planning per se, my kind of gist and look on it and how I have my business clients work with this is only planning 1 quarter ahead. So only looking 12 weeks ahead. You kind of have an idea of where you want to take it, but everything changes so much and so broadly that if you know 12 weeks, okay, that's what I want to get to, and then you just execute for 12 weeks, then put your head back up and then look, okay, where do I need to go from here? That's kind of my gist with planning. How do you guys go about it?
Well, Dave, I'll answer that one. So we actually use a tool called Scrum, okay? So if you've never come across this before, literally just go to Google and type in Scrum training tutorials, and it'll be one of the first links at the top. I think it's Scrum. Sorry, I said that wrong.
Scrum.
.com, something like that. And there's about 7 or 8 video tutorials, and they take about an hour to go through. And how do we actually get stuff done? Is that we use Scrum, and it's taken from a web development environment, but it works in schools and it works for us as business owners. And we've had the day and night difference by implementing this into our business, which was that we released this video tutorial course out, and it was just such a mess. Unbelievable mess. We didn't have tutorials fully completed, edited, the documents weren't ready. We didn't have any form of marketing to go with it, and it was all just like haphazard. It was horrific, and it kind of summarizes where we got to. By then, we just worked through these things by brute force. Mm-hmm. Whereas the next course after implementing Scrum and using sprints is that the difference was day and night. It was day and night difference. Everything just went so smoothly. In fact, I think probably the biggest acid test was that when I suggested deviating from the rules of Scrum with the rest of the team, they all rejected it. They said, no, Matt, we're doing this. We've got to keep this.
I think the big thing as well, Matt, is that we hardly touched it. Everything was dealt with within the team, and that just made it so much. The past one, we were firefighting constantly. Oh, this needs tweaking, this needs re-editing, this hasn't had this put on it, this needs an email going out or a Facebook post. And the second time when we had Scrum, we literally didn't touch anything. We recorded it, and that was it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the team did the rest of it, and
that's why you should be.
Yeah.
That's a business.
And Scrum helped us do that.
That's awesome.
And again, one of the biggest benefits for Scrum is that it forces communication between yourself and your team as well. That was probably the biggest win which we had. Whereas as Dave was saying, everybody was coming to us individually, and we weren't really running a coherent team. Whereas now that we catch up every single day, 15 minutes, and we just answer 3 questions. What did I do yesterday? What do I intend to do today? And does anything impede me? And those are the 3 questions which are asked around the team. And the thing is, the transparency level for this is just amazing. Everybody knows what everybody else is doing. If something's changing or something's new coming up, then we're able to show it within the team very, very quickly. And everybody knows what everybody else is doing. So, yeah, Scrum, massive benefit.
Excellent. That is definitely something to implement ASAP for absolutely everybody listening right now. Now, this was kind of something that I wanted to bring up with you guys. I'm glad you're on the same page with this one, Matt, and same with you as well, Dave, was a part of success. Success is obviously a very broad term. Everyone defines it differently. The definition of success is just like assholes. Like everyone has one. Do you know what I mean? They're all different. So a big part of, sorry, boys, a big part of obviously success is financially, how much money you're making, are you being able to, do you know what I mean, live well, buy the things you want, the materialistic things. The other part of it as well, and I think all the listeners can relate, and this was a big part to really why we actually connected in the first place, was freedom. Now, obviously we came together because it was related to a location-independent conference of entrepreneurs coming together to be able to collaborate and build upon further success from there. Now, what does freedom mean for you guys? Because I feel like this can be really broad, because we chatted about this and I've talked about this with other people as well. Some people would like to, funny enough, about an hour and 45 minutes ago, I had a new client coming on board and he actually said this. He wants to be able to work like on the beach from his computer. So he actually, this guy actually lives in the UK as well. And he's a trainer. So for him, freedom is being able to live on the beach and work from his computer there. Okay. But what does freedom mean for you guys?
Okay, well, I'll go first. For me, like I said, the big thing over where we first met, Chris, there's a lot of location, a lot of nomads, digital nomads, and that lifestyle doesn't appeal to me that much. You know, I like where I live. I live here in Manchester, in the city, and it's great. But I do enjoy travelling. Sadly, due to that trip, I did quite like the 5-star level of travelling, which, you know,
they were stunning hotels.
Yeah,
they were
a very nice way of living with it. But you know, I like to see the world and experience different cultures. So for me, you can't really do that to that degree without having some sort of financial security as well. So whilst, you know, right now I'd say I live comfortably, you know, I have a mortgage to pay and bills to pay, but, you know, I can still go out. I can still, you know, I still go to still a gym I can go to. So, you know, have a pretty, you know, good lifestyle. I don't have a boss yelling at me 8 hours a day. But for me, you know, what's that?
Sorry.
But for me, the freedom is the ability it's like the freedom of movement, is that I know I can pick the laptop up, I could go to Bali, I could go to New Zealand, and I can still work from there. And
did you not have 6 months in America, Dave?
I was in LA for 3 months last year,
3 months,
which is amazing. And LA is not a cheap place to live, in case anyone's wondering. But yeah, I went there for 3 months. It was amazing. My other half's already talking about wanting to go east next year, so Chris might be knocking on your door.
There we go. You're welcome.
But yeah, so for me, there is a financial sort of implication there, and I'll let you in on like something that I've used. I heard Jim Carrey actually did this, and it worked for him. And I actually, in my wallet, which I carry around with me all the time, I have a check written to myself, dated for in 3 years' time. For £2 million. And my goal is to be able to cash that check into my bank account in 3 years' time. And it's just that constantly, I see that every time I open my wallet, and it's like a constant reminder. And it's on the theory that, you know, it's there. If I see it, I can achieve it. And that constant reminder means that every time I think, can I be bothered today? It's like, no, that's the end goal. That's why we get up early. That's why we work hard, work late, and blah, blah, blah. So, yes, finance is important, but I do think freedom is a big thing. I find, sorry, I'm going on here.
No, this is good.
The final bit is like, there's two ways to define success, I think. You're either time rich and cash poor, or cash rich and time poor. And the holy grail is to be time rich and cash rich. It's the ability to have the time and the money to be able to do what you want. And I think that's what I would like to be able to define as success.
Awesome. Matthew?
By the way, I know the secret of actually doing that, and it's actually really glaringly obvious, which is to build a team around you. Because all of us, everybody which has listened to this, has the same restrictions as everybody else, which is 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, and time is our limiting factor. And this is where you'll see businesses grow rapidly, is that when you step into that role as being a manager and getting that first member of staff into your team, or we're up to 11, 12 now across the two businesses. And the big thing for me was going to the DC event over in Bangkok, which is that I met people who were bigger than me and had teams of 50. Yeah. In fact, there was a chap called Nate, and he stood out a country mile because he'd gone to this event over in Bangkok and he was bored. Literally, that person just like go around just scuffing at the floor. That was Nate. He'd taken himself out of the business that much. He'd gone there because he was bored and wanted something to do and was looking for a new idea. And it just reeks that's where I want to be able to get to. I'd love being like Nate in that situation. And the reason why he was like that is because he'd put all the effort in and built a substantial team to help him to the point that he didn't touch anything on a day-to-day basis. So that's the secret there, is to put a team into place. Even if you've never been a manager before, never had an assistant or a developer before, then just get started right now. It's inexpensive, and hey, even if you screw up the first time around, then you'll know for the next time. And you'll learn by your mistakes. So, yeah, the secret to that is a team. Because that's you amplify your hours per day.
Absolutely. Like, I will very much so throw my hand up and say, especially from what the biggest thing that I took from Bangkok was, I have to be the CEO from now on. Like, with the two companies and now the third one about to start, like, I'm literally standing in the way of the success of everything else. Like, I'm bringing in people that are better than me. And so since then already, I've brought on 2 people. I'm going to be bringing on 2 coaches, and I'm actually going to pay for them to live here in Bali to be able to work for me, an internship with me, maybe a third. I've got to actually searching for that third one with an interview. And already I can see huge changes with what's being able to get done. Like, it's just absolutely, both of you have just knocked that out of the park.
Yeah, absolutely. So the idea of an internship, and again, you're very lucky because you're a location and you're able to say, come and live in Bali.
Yeah, no one, you can't say come and live in London and everyone's going to be flocking. What's going on there?
Yeah, Bristol. Yeah, I love Bristol for a lot of reasons, but you wouldn't put that down as a sunny location. That's all. And I know it's raining out there at the moment. It's pretty bad.
The weather's been amazing.
Yeah, in the summer it's fantastic. Winter, not so good. Not so good.
Excellent. Okay. Just coming back. Yeah, sorry, keep going, Matt. Keep going.
I was just to say, just coming back onto the topic with the location independence. I'm married. I've been with Helen, my wife, for 16 years now. We will be in December. And we've been together for 16 years. I've got 2 girls, 5 and 7. And look, it was really nice going to Bangkok and seeing these people who were just willing to travel halfway around the world. And I'm very envious of them to be able to have done or be doing that at their time because it's the right time for them.
Yep.
But for location independence for me is really simply getting up, walking down the road, jumping on a bus, and going to a cafe at any point in time I want. And that's what location independence means to me. And again, it means something to different to everybody. And yeah, location independence could be as simple as just having the freedom to go to the nearest cafe or go to the gym for an hour and the whole world doesn't cave in on you.
Yeah.
Or in the case of me and Dave, we could go to the Philippines and Thailand for 2 weeks and our business still ran in the background. Obviously, we still put the effort in, and we came up with some fantastic ideas, which we came up with while we were away. But the whole world didn't cave in. So location independence for me really means cafe. I can go there at any point in time, and I probably don't do that enough, if I'm honest.
All right, excellent. Now, we haven't even touched on this, so I do want to finish this episode because I know we're going to have to do much more together, guys. But what is it that your business actually does? Let's go in depth. I want to actually showcase it because I'm sure the listener, because we didn't really delve into it at the start.
Yeah, of course. So I actually run 2 different businesses. We have Understanding E, which is a membership-based website, which is based upon WordPress, Wishlist Member, and a collection of other plugins which we use. And we just basically make video tutorials. And here's the secret, actually. We make video tutorials for me, but a 10 years ago me. And we're very specialized in what we do. We're in multi-channel e-commerce. So that's where somebody's got, and again, I'm just looking at my desk, they've got you, again, you might have a coffee mug on your desk as well. So imagine that you've got 10 of those in stock and you want to sell those 10 on eBay, you want to sell them on Amazon and your website at the same time. And software can help you do that, because then when you receive an order, then you've only got 9 left in stock. So you need to update eBay and your website because that order was on Amazon. And then you get an order on Amazon. So that means need to update eBay to 8 and your website to 8. And of course, when you get another delivery in of 10 more, that you need all the sites to update to 18. And that's just a simple overview of multi-channel software. And the thing is that I delayed, again, this all comes from my personal pain in the background, which is that I delayed for a couple of months implementing software like this many moons ago. And I'll give you an idea. I used to be doing, say, £15,000 per month in that business. And on the 4th month, after putting software like into place, I did £78,000 worth of turnover.
That's a great job.
I know that the software, if implemented even poorly, can help every single business owner out there, which is used in the marketplaces. And that's the secret behind Understanding E. The video tutorials are really meant for me, but 10 years ago me. And apparently there's a lot of people out there. We're not that far off 10,000 registered members on the Understanding E site. So Understanding E has been quietly a very, very big success for us. And it has global appeal as well. The challenges are exactly the same for somebody in the UK as it is to the US, as it is to Bali or Australia or Germany, France, and so on and so forth. It's a universal challenge for anybody in that arena.
Very.
Sorry?
What's the other one?
The other one is I run a software company. I have a software tool. And again, I think this brings back to a point which you made earlier, Chris, about permission.
Yep.
So I just need to look at my notes here in the background. So there we go. So this is a curious one. So I developed this tool, and it was a very, very, very simple tool. And I was too shy to show anybody else about this. But I was in a meeting with a large corporate retailer. So Chris, have you heard of Tesco before?
Yes.
Cool. It was with Tesco. And we were sat there, and they showed me this drawing of what they would like to appear in one of their listings. And I was kind of dumbstruck, because I said, "Oh, you mean this?" And then reached into my bag, grabbed the iPad out and showed them the picture. And they said, "Yes, that." I developed it 3 months before, and I was too shy to show anybody else about it. And from that moment on, it changed. So everything which I've developed since is that if my gut, again, because I'm very privileged because my background, because I've run my own product-based business before, I've worked with 2 software companies as well, and I've dealt with some fantastic people. And everything which I build now is based upon what would I want if I was in their situation. And yeah, the software side's done really, really well. Again, in fact, I have a very bloated software product, and I'm turning around and looking at that big whiteboard which I've got in the background here, Chris, which is that tool actually needs to be broken into 5 separate tools because it's got too big. And each one of those is going to be an independent business, run from the same admin panel. Yeah. And that's done ridiculously well, is because the tools are honed to the right persona of person. And when they find them, they generally love them and continue to use them. So
brilliant.
Is that a good enough overview for you?
That was a brilliant overview. Thank you so much, sir. Now, really quickly, I want one absolute killer nugget of a tip for the listener to take away from right now. Something that we haven't even touched upon, something that just comes straight to the top of your head right now.
Me.
What I need to execute.
Sorry, Chris,
Matthew, go.
I'm just answering it, so tell me to shout out when you're ready, all right? So I found this by complete accident, and it has been the biggest coup I have ever done in 37 years, okay? And I know that you could implement this in your business right now, Chris, and I'm sure everybody else which is listening to this could do exactly the same thing. And it's very, very simple. It's called generations. So let's think about that. Before we get into the meat of it, let's think about the iPhone. And the iPhone has generations. And when you get to like the 4th generation, well, that's better than the 3rd generation or better than the 1st generation. So we are psychologically programmed to think that a newer generation is better than the old generation, and Apple products is the best example of that. So again, we found this. I found this out by pure accident, is because it just kind of made sense to our industry, and we created something called the third generation. So what you do is that you start off with a first generation, and that's how everybody used to do it in the old days. Okay. So maybe, Chris, I'm not very big into personal training, so maybe that's where you had to go to a physical gym to get into shape. Okay?
Correct.
Now you've got a new generation, which is you've got coaches, you've got consultants, and they're able to give you plans and things like that. And that's what you label as second generation. Whatever the state of play is currently in your arena, you class that as second generation, and you bundle in everybody into that second generation. And this is where the cue comes. You then declare what you are doing as being third generation. Okay. Instantly, you have just declared that everybody else is old, and you are the only new person to work in this new third generation way of doing things. And then suddenly you've just said that everybody else is old, and everybody else, again, now and psychologically with your customer or potential customer, you've just said that everybody else is second generation. And if they don't take this new third generation, then they're dealing with something old. And that was our biggest coup. And I did that with multi-channel software. You can do this with any market in any condition and just invent a new generation. Obviously, you need to be slightly different in a few places, but you could pretty much brand it from anything, from coffee mugs to personal training.
I literally just wrote that note down to put into my copy tomorrow. That's brilliant. I love that. It totally makes sense, but it's so true. Like, I really like that. I'm still running a point.
It works. In fact, Chris, go and do it for a completely different arena. Because, by the way, I've missed this trick with the software side, and that's exactly the route which I'm going to follow along now with the software business. Is that I'm just going to declare the first generation, which is really obvious to my target audience. Number two is everybody else right now. I'm just going to say that they're second generation. I'm going to explain why they are second generation. And then the third generation is just so happens what the products which I have to offer is now third generation, and how it is far more superior to everybody else out there. Okay. And I know it's going to work. I found this one out by accident because it just kind of like made sense in my head to do this, but I didn't realize that I was going to get long-term customers referring to Understanding E as being the third generation, and they knew what that meant. And it's immediately set us apart from everybody else. And that there are a lot of software providers out there which do similar things to what we teach in Understanding E. But the thing is that they're all old. They're all second generation. They're not third
generation, baby.
So use that one, please. I know it works pretty well. And we found that one out by pure accident. And it's worked amazingly for us. So, Chris, if you can use it in your business,
I've already written it down. I'm putting that to the test tomorrow. Let's do this.
Yeah, do it. Try it with a customer. So the next person which you speak to, maybe on a personal coaching plan, Chris, for example, is maybe just put some notes together. Just take them back through. This is what you used to have to do, like first generation training was that you'd have to get up and go to a gym and do this, and then second generation is that you can do this and that. But with me, this is what I call third generation. This is where you can work with an expert like me remotely. And I'll let you fill in the blanks.
Perfect. Excellent. Now, David, what is the killer nugget that you've got?
I would say for me that I was just trying to think while Matt was explaining the fantasticness of generations. What has been like pivotal in our journey so far? And I think for us, it's probably been appearing bigger than you are. It's like we're a small team, and we're small on purpose. It allows us to be nimble and reactive and not have to deal with too much politics. And a lot of our sort of competitors in the multi-channel software field are big guys, offices and hundreds of staff and blah, blah, blah. And yet I think the fact that whilst I was in LA, I managed to talk my way into eBay headquarters in San Jose. and sat around this
Because
boardroom.
he was there with the entire top tier.
I tell you, I was at director, VP level, and then there was me, some bloke from Manchester. Nothing will ever get you an inferiority complex quite like that. So I was like, wow. And I was in that mode. I was just thinking, well, I'm here now. I've got to give him something. But yeah, it was the fact that me and Matt had been running this business for less than 2 years at the time, and yeah, I was there, sat in eBay's boardroom, sort of pitching what Understanding E did and how we could help them to, I think, 7, like I said, director level eBay sort of employees, and yeah, it was like for me that was the big one. It was a case of, and don't get me wrong, eBay have been great with us. We have a good relationship with eBay. We've done some great partnership things. We did a great webinar with them a couple of years ago. But yeah, I think that would be the key: is don't let your size restrict you. Shoot, aim high, aim big, and if you miss, then you'll still be surprised at how far you can go.
Awesome.
That would probably be my big one.
No, I like that. I think that's really, really good. And obviously, I think don't cut yourself short as well. Like, you were in that room because you deserved it as well, Dave.
That's it. It was, you had to put that in your mind. I'm equal, if not better than people.
Yeah, I'm there for a reason.
They've taken time out of their day to listen to what I've got to say. So that you have to really, you can't go in there with that. In the car park, I was like, God, what am I doing here? But once I got in there, business mode kicked in. Right, let's kick some ass and show them what's going on.
That's awesome. That's excellent. I know, I really like that. Well done. Kudos, sir. Now, where does the listener go to now, boys, for Understanding E and all the other greatness that you're doing at the moment?
So if multi-channel's your thing, go multi-channel software, sell it on eBay, Amazon, websites, Magento, or WordPress, which is a route which we're about to go diving off into. Have a look at understandinge.com. You can take the vast majority of the tutorials for free. Funny enough, because that's how we started Understanding E. So a good 70% plus of everything which we do is free anyway. You can find this, again, if you'd like to connect with us personally, just look up Matthew Ogborn or Dave Furness on LinkedIn. You can find us on Facebook. We're very well connected socially. So follow us, send us an invite. We'd love to connect with you. So we're out there. Just type the names in Google and you will find us very quickly.
Excellent. I will put the links to that into the show notes so people can click straight on over for you guys. But I really appreciate you taking the time out for myself and the listener, to both yourself, guys. This has been great. You've really dished up some really important points, like the notes that I've taken down from what we've covered. I know the listener is going to be walking away really being able to take bigger and better steps forward for themselves. So I really wanted to say a very big thank you, and I'm grateful for that.
Hey, Chris.
The same. Just to say thank you for having us on and letting us chat with you. I also want to say thank you for what you do as well, because I said I've been, like I said, since we met a few weeks ago, I've been keeping an eye on the social stuff and seeing some of your business stuff that's going on. It's fantastic. It inspires us in things that we could be doing better. Thank you too, sir.
Well, I really appreciate it, and I know, and I really appreciate that we were able to connect and build a relationship. So I know there's going to be a lot more shit talk between us guys, so we'll definitely keep that up. But for now, an absolutely huge virtual high five going out for you guys, and looking forward to more.
Absolutely.
Chris, thank you. We really appreciate it.
So now it's time for you to click on over to chrisdufay.com. That's chrisdufey.com to get all the guides and show notes. And if you are wanting the workshops where I walk you through how to build your online business, click on over to chrisdufay.com/start here. This is where I can give you the exact training guides and the workshops for exactly where you're at and the answers that you need. Now, every Friday I'm coming back to you with a new episode. So So be sure to subscribe, and if you haven't already, you're going to be getting the world's best insights, the advice and the answers to give you the business, the money, the freedom and the success and happiness that you want. And I want to give you a huge muchas gracias for being here with me. And as always, get in touch with me via the site or via social, as Ask the Pro is about me giving you the answers that you need. So ask away.